Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for being with us today, and I thank you and your team for the work you did on getting TSA back to the Jackson, Tennessee airport. As you know, that was important for the region. It is important for the economic growth that is taking there in the expansion of the mega site, Ford, SK, Kellogg's, Toyota, all that have seen tremendous growth there. So we thank you for that. And Senator Thune mentioned the mobile enrollment for TSA Act and the importance of that. I do think for rural communities, this is going to be vital to continue with that. I do want to ask you the TSA Modernization Act, and I'd like for you to speak for just a minute why you all chose to disregard that law and enter into agreement with vendors that did not include secure mobile end-to-end enrollment.
Senator, I get back to you for the record, if I could, to answer that question, because I want to make sure that that I give you the most accurate information. But I do appreciate very much your advocacy for small airports now recovering, you know, we will always move very quickly to allow that recovery to occur. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned biometrics earlier. So what is the timeline? What you did not do was give us a timeline for when you see full implementation taking place. And then also, I'd like to know what are the privacy and safety arrangements around that data, because this will be capture and hold on that data.
Yes, ma'am. With respect to biometrics at the checkpoint, we do capture the data, but we do not hold it. So as soon as the passenger departs the identity verification station, we erase that data. Okay. And that's in our privacy impact statements. And I'll start with privacy, because I think that needs to be at the forefront of all biometric discussions. We want to make sure that we are open and transparent and very respectful of privacy rights of travelers. With respect to how long is it going to take, unfortunately, longer than I'd like it to take, because our capital investment level in the fiscal 23 budget, for example, is about $100 million. That's going to push out our CT acquisition to about 2036, or our X-ray acquisition in 2036, and then our credential technology, which would have the biometrics embedded, is going to be in about 10 years after that. So it's a longer timeline. We're ready to go. We're constantly testing, constantly improving. It just requires additional funding, and our top line is kind of constrained to be able to do that.
Well, that is helpful to hear. I was disappointed to hear you say that you supported collective bargaining. And I know that Senator Wicker brought up the Title V issue earlier, and that is of concern for me. So it appears that TSA has kind of changed their opinion and their view on that issue. Am I correct on that?
Yes, ma'am. You know, I've had experience now of 5 years in this position, and that report was done earlier in my tenure. I have, like I said, paid very, very close attention to our federal employee viewpoint survey results. That needle hasn't moved where it needs to move to, and I think we need to try a different approach to this. But it is expensive, and that's the reason for the budget request of $120 million to execute.
Current law calls for employees that allow guns, knives, explosives through a checkpoint to be immediately terminated. So changing status and moving them under Title V, could those employees remain on the TSA payroll?
We would have to, we'd have to look at the specific legislation that would be at play. We've provided technical drafting assistance to HR 903, which is the current legislation that has passed the House.
Well, safety of the flying public is an imperative, and it appears that Title V may restrict your flexibility in dealing with employees. Is that correct?
Well, what we would want to do as the bill goes through the process is to look at areas where it might have an impact that we would want to have you consider additional adjustments on that. And so we'd have to look at the legislation and see where some of those specific impacts would be. But clearly, from my position, I am all about improving security and not at all about decreasing security in any way, shape, or form.
How much training does a TSA agent go through before they begin to screen people on their own? What is the hours required? I know at one point it was as few as 24 hours, and then it moved to 40 hours. So where are we now with training?
It varies by station because there are different stations within the screening operation. So for the X-ray system, for example, that's in excess of 90 hours to become certified in that. Additionally, we put all of our new officers through the TSA Academy, which is 2 weeks long and about to go to 3 weeks. So they have the on-the-job training, and then they'll have the academy training, which gives them some skills-based training as well.
Okay, so that's for officers and not for agents.
Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, our transportation security, we call them TSOs, transportation security officers. Those are the agents you see in the checkpoints.
All right, but they're still not law enforcement, correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.